Something unexpected just shook the entire draft conversation around the Minnesota Vikings. And if you think you already know what this team is going to do at pick 18, you might want to think again. Because what just surfaced from Todd McShay's latest mock draft isn't just surprising. It completely flips the narrative that's been building for weeks. So if you want to stay well informed about these and more news, click the like button and subscribe to stay up to date. Let's go. According to the latest insights, the Vikings are projected to select Denzel Boston, a wide receiver out of Washington, in the first round. And here's the thing. This isn't just another name being tossed into the mix. This is the first time any major mock draft has linked Boston to Minnesota. And that alone raises eyebrows across the league. Now, let's be real about this. For weeks, the conversation has revolved around other prospects, names like Dylan Thiemann, Jamal McCoy, and even defensive options dominating the discussion. Those felt like logical fits, safe picks, predictable outcomes. But this is a curveball. And what makes it even more intriguing is who was still on the board in that projection. Players like Kenyon Sadiq, a tight end with serious upside, and both McCoy and Thiemann, guys widely expected to be top targets for Minnesota, were available. Yet, McShay went in a completely different direction. Why? The reasoning cuts deeper than just talent evaluation. It points directly to a concern that might have been flying under the radar. The Vikings' struggles catching the football last season. That's not just a minor critique. That's a foundational issue for an offense built around elite playmakers. And with Jalen Nailor no longer in the picture, now in Las Vegas, the situation hasn't exactly improved. So, what's the current plan? Hand a starting role to Ty Felton? A player with just 3 rookie receptions? That's where the skepticism kicks in. That's where this pick starts to make more sense. Because Denzel Boston brings something this offense hasn't really had, alongside Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison: size, physicality, and a true boundary presence. At a time when defenses are getting faster and more aggressive, having a big-bodied receiver who can win contested catches, Boston reportedly boasts a 77% contested catch rate, isn't just valuable. It might be necessary. But here's where things get complicated. Boston's skill set is different. He's not the versatile move-everywhere type that Jefferson and Addison are. He's primarily an outside receiver. That means if he steps in, it could force a shift in how the Vikings deploy their 2 biggest stars, potentially pushing them into the slot more often and limiting the unpredictability that makes this offense so dangerous. And that raises a bigger question. Is the trade-off worth it? Because on one hand, you're adding a unique weapon, a receiver who thrives in physical matchups, who can dominate in contested situations, and who offers a safety net for a quarterback when plays break down. On the other hand, you might be sacrificing the flexibility that defines your offensive identity. And don't overlook another layer here. This isn't just about 2025. This could be about the future of Jordan Addison. There are already whispers about whether the Vikings are willing to commit massive money to 2 wide receivers long-term, especially with Jefferson commanding elite-level salary figures. Drafting Boston could signal something bigger, something strategic, something that reshapes the roster beyond this season. So now the conversation shifts. This isn't just, should the Vikings draft a wide receiver? It's, are they quietly preparing for a major offensive transition? Because if this pick happens, it's not just about filling a need. It's about redefining what this offense looks like moving forward. And that's why this mock draft matters. It challenges everything we thought we knew about Minnesota's priorities. It opens the door to possibilities that most fans, and even analysts, haven't seriously considered yet. So now, I want to hear from you. Be honest. If you're sitting at pick 18 and Denzel Boston is there, Are you making that call? Or are you sticking with the safer, more expected direction? Drop your take in the comments, draft or pass. And here's where things start to get even more interesting for the Minnesota Vikings. Because this isn't just about whether Denzel Boston fits, it's about what this decision could quietly signal behind the scenes. Think about the bigger picture for a second. You already have Justin Jefferson, one of the most dominant receivers in football, locked in as your offensive centerpiece. You have Jordan Addison, a young, explosive playmaker who's already shown he can be a high-level WR2 in this league. On paper, that sounds like a complete room. But the reality? It's not. Because what this offense lacks, and what McShay is clearly pointing toward, is diversity in skill sets. Boston isn't just another receiver. He's a different type of receiver. A true X, a boundary enforcer. The kind of player who lines up outside and dares defenses to stop him in one-on-one situations. And when you really break down his profile, you start to understand why some NFL teams reportedly view him much closer to the top tier of this class than the public does. That gap between perception and league evaluation? That's where teams find value, or make massive reaches. Boston's production backs up the intrigue. 11 touchdowns last season. Strong after the catch. Smooth movement for his size. But the real headline is his ability in contested situations. That's his calling card. That's what separates him. When the ball is in the air, he doesn't just compete. He wins. Now imagine that weapon paired with a quarterback who can extend plays. According to the projection, this new era in Minnesota includes Kyler Murray under center, a mobile quarterback who thrives outside structure. And suddenly, Boston's ability to uncover late, adjust to broken plays, and win physical matchups becomes even more valuable. That's not random. That's a fit. But here's the tension, and it's a real one. If Boston is primarily an outside receiver, and you're committing to him in round one, that changes how you deploy Jefferson and Addison. Both of those guys are dangerous because they can move everywhere. Inside, outside, motion, mismatches. That unpredictability is what keeps defenses guessing. Take that away, or even limit it, and you risk making the offense more readable. And in today's NFL, predictability is death. So the Vikings would be walking a very fine line here, adding a missing piece, while potentially altering what already works at a high level. And then comes the financial layer, the part most fans don't immediately think about, but front offices absolutely do. Jefferson is already commanding elite money. Addison is going to be next in line for a major deal if he continues producing. And history has shown us it's incredibly difficult to build a complete roster when you're paying top dollar to two wide receivers. Look at teams around the league, the ones who make it work. They draft extremely well. They hit on cheap talent. They build depth through the draft. That hasn't consistently been the Vikings' strength. So drafting Boston could be more than just adding a receiver. It could be leverage. It could be insurance, or it could be a long-term replacement plan already in motion. And if that's the case, then this pick isn't just surprising. It's strategic, because suddenly you're not just evaluating Boston as a WR3 for 2025, you're evaluating him as a potential cornerstone for what comes next. Now, zoom back out to the draft as a whole. The expectation from bookmakers and analysts has been clear. Wide receiver is not a priority. Safety, defensive line, edge, those are the positions most people expect at pick 18. Wide receiver has been sitting way down the list. But internally, that might not be how the Vikings see it. Because when you've already raised the floor of your roster through free agency, adding depth, filling gaps, you give yourself freedom on draft night. You're no longer drafting out of desperation. You're drafting for impact. And that's why this pick becomes so dangerous. In a good way. Because it means Minnesota can go anywhere. They can take the best player available. They can shock everyone. They can change the direction of the offense in one move. And Denzel Boston might be the first real sign that they're thinking bigger than we expected. So now, let's bring it back to you. Because this is where it gets real. If you're in that draft room, if you're on the clock at 18, and this scenario plays out exactly like this, are you pulling the trigger on Boston? Or are you sticking with the safer path? Defense, trenches, the names everyone expects. I want your full take now, and don't hold back. And if you're enjoying this kind of deep dive breakdown, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to stay locked in, because we're just getting started with everything leading up to draft night. SKOL Vikings.